Hello again, Internet. If you're watching this, it means you've come to find out more about an alternate theory concerning the game's ending. The theory is this. The ending from Harbinger lasering Shepard onward is a hallucination within Shepard's mind as he attempts to fight off indoctrination while mortally wounded. Now, I know what you might be saying right now. What? Shepard indoctrinated? Impossible! Keep in mind that, by the end of the third game, Shepard has been within spitting distance of Sovereign, the Human Reaper, and 3 Reaper destroyers. He's also been inside a derelict Reaper that could still indoctrinate, and has been knocked out and held hostage near Object Row in the Arrival DLC. So it's foolish to pretend that the Reapers couldn't possibly be touching Shepard's mind. The hallucination theory hones in on all the elements that are just a little off in the entire ending sequence specifically, but we can find evidence that supports it all the way back in the first few minutes of the game. Take, for example, when Shepard first meets the little kid. First of all, that kid says something completely uncharacteristic of a child. "You can't help me." Then Anderson interrupts Shepard and the music cuts off abruptly. I want you to listen closely when he does.
Shepard! In here!
Did you hear that weird growling sound?
Evidence number one.
This is actually a reference to the Mass Effect novels, specifically Paul Grayson in Ascension and Retribution. Now, I can already hear some of you going, Grayson. Oh yeah, I remember his name getting dropped in the game a couple times. Who was that guy? In short, the Elusive Man implanted him with Reaper tech as an experiment and he got indoctrinated. The books say that when he snapped out of indoctrination spells, a Reaper growling sound could be heard. Anderson interrupting Shepard breaks his focus on his vision of the kid, and when Shepard turns back to see the kid and doesn't, it throws him out again, hence the second growl. Plus, we remember from the video logs in the Derelict Reaper from Mass Effect 2 that things appearing and disappearing is also a sign of indoctrination. But enough about a mysterious audio clip, let's just move on. The next piece of evidence comes in when Shepard is escaping Earth and spots the kid again. Notice, the kid's all alone, and although the refugees are helping one another onto the shuttles, no one even looks at the kid. Hell, the soldier standing next to him ignores him as he's visibly struggling to get on the ship.
Evidence number two.
No one helps the kid because he isn't there. He's a vision being produced by indoctrination to mess with Shepard's psyche, so that Shepard will attach all the lives he cannot save to the face of that child and fixate on it. Even if you think that's all a load of crap, you can't deny that Shepard associates that child with the body count on Earth. With that in mind, let's move to the next piece of evidence. The dream sequences. First of all, Shepard is having nightmares, something the player has never experienced before. I mean, yeah, he had some visions back in Mass Effect 1 when he didn't have the cipher to understand all that crap from the beacon, but those visions weren't being generated by his psyche. And remember that persistent nightmares are another symptom of indoctrination. So the first dream has Shepard chasing after the child, and when he finally catches up to him, the child is engulfed in flames. The Reapers are sending a message to Shepard to weaken his resolve, and that message is, you cannot save everyone. Then, in a later dream, Shepard is chasing the kid again, but hears whispers from his fallen comrades. He catches up to the kid again, kid goes up in flames again. The Reaper's message, you cannot save those close to you. Then, in the final dream, when Shepard reaches the kid, he sees himself and the kid go up in flames. The Reaper's message, you cannot save yourself.
Evidence number three.
Now this is by far the most chilling one, because it means that the Reapers have been slowly wearing down Shepard mentally. They use Shepard's constructed fixation with the child to weaken him so that he begins to genuinely doubt himself. If this is the case, it elevates Harbinger from a cameo role to one of the most important characters in the game. Moving right along, we finally tackle the beast itself, the entire ending sequence after Shepard is lasered by Harbinger. The game actually drops a lot of clues to tell you that everything is just not quite right. Take, for example, once Shepard steps into the beam. He wakes up, was somehow followed by Anderson, and proceeds to comment on how the Citadel looks weird. The starting tunnel is reminiscent of the Collector base, which Anderson points out, and then all the sliding plates are reminiscent of the lair of the Shadow Broker, just to name a couple. And why is there random human writing on that little pillar thing behind Shepard in an area of the Citadel that supposedly no organic has ever been to? Yeah, okay, Then the Elusive Man just shows up out of the blue, demonstrating rationale similar to Saren from Mass Effect 1. If your Paragon is high enough, you can even get him to execute himself just like Saren did. The setting, right down to your dialogue with the characters, is a hastily constructed vision by the Reapers based off of Shepard's own mind and memories. Then Shepard gives out and ascends to the Catalyst home. Okay, first red flag. Shepard makes little to no attempt to stand up to the Catalyst statements. The few times he does pipe up, the Catalyst shoots him down, and he's just like, okay, makes sense to me. You have absolutely no reason to trust this thing, especially considering it was essentially unguarded. Even if Harbinger genuinely thought you were dead, the Catalyst represents the collective Reaper conscious. They know you're in there, but they make no attempt to stop you? No husk swarming in? No nothing? In Mass Effect 1, Sovereign was practically humping the Presidium when you were trying to keep the arms closed, and even reanimates Saren to fight you. The human Reaper doesn't just give up when you shoot out its life support, it fights you until you destroy it. So the game wants me to believe that the Reapers would go to such lengths to stop Shepard before the invasion even began. But as soon as Shepard gets to the Reaper end-all, they just go, oh well, he made it, I guess we'll just give up now and show him how to stop us. Bullshit. Additionally, you can tell from the get-go that there's something fishy with the way the Catalyst presents you with your options. It addresses that you can destroy it, but immediately paints it in a bad light. Literally. It's renegade orange. The Catalyst is also dismissive, telling you it won't solve the quote-unquote inherent synthetic organic problem. It also throws you a curveball by telling you all synthetic life is destroyed, including the Geth and implicitly EDI. If you've been running Paragon, that'll definitely make you pause. But notice two things. Anderson is associated with the renegade option. Anderson's your friend, but he is the Reaper's enemy. Also, destruction is the only ending that kills the Reapers. Accepting any other acknowledges the need for the Reaper's existence. Curious, no? Then the Avatar states, or do you think you can control us? Harbinger's ridiculous pride won't even let him pretend that an organic could accomplish such a feat. A tiny break in character meant to give us pause. Additionally, the Elusive Man, their pawn, your enemy, is associated with it, and it is painted as the Paragon option. Why? Why is controlling a horrible genocidal doom force a good thing? Well, it's not, frankly, but the Catalyst appeals to the player's hubris, telling you that you can forever exert your will over them. And finally, the third option is presented. Synthesis. The combination of all organic and synthetic life into one pinnacle of evolution. Is this not what the Reapers are doing anyway? We know they're organic-synthetic hybrids from our discovery at the Collector base, and they arrogantly refer to themselves as the pinnacle of evolution. The Catalyst paints this as the best option to choose. Why? Because it effectively represents surrender. It's Saren's mindset. Give in. Admit that our solution is right. It's clear that the Catalyst is trying to trick you to solidify the indoctrination process. If you choose control, the Reapers own Shepard. They control you now, and Shepard as we know him is dead. If you choose synthesis, you, the player, have been indoctrinated. Your mindset has swayed to match the Reapers. If you still choose destroy, and your galactic resources are high enough to keep the pressure off Shepard's dying body as he hallucinates, it signifies you have defied Reaper indoctrination, releasing their control on you. This is supported by the secret Renegade ending where, if you have a high resource rating, Shepard is shown to be alive, awakening in a pile of concrete rubble, i.e. London. As far as the Normandy flying away and marooning on a planet, that's just something conjured up by Shepard's psyche to basically tell him, you made the right choice, son. They lived, and there's hope. However, it doesn't really happen. Besides the fact that the Normandy would have to be moving pretty damn fast to pick up your entire crew from London and then go make a relay jump, your crew would simply never do that. They would never leave your side, even if they thought you were dead. They would fight alongside you to the end. That's the kind of loyalty you've built up with them after these past 3 games. Once again, the fact that Shepard wakes up after this vision confirms that it was part of the hallucination. This compelling pile of foreshadowing evidence, combined with some small statements made by BioWare's producer Michael Gamble, as well as tidbits that you can go find on Twitter yourself, I'm not going to list them all here, makes it seem like the hallucination theory very well could be the true ending for Mass Effect 3. There's just one small problem. Assuming the hallucination theory is right, BioWare could have had the same indoctrinating the player effect and still released the true ending to the game on launch. The fact that they didn't suggests one of 3 things. 1. BioWare didn't trust all the data miners on PC to not extract the cutscenes from their files and effectively spoil the mind-blowing end sequence for everyone else. Considering this was very much designed for and marketed to consoles and would get thrown on YouTube in the first couple of days of release anyway, this is pretty unlikely. 2. BioWare couldn't finish the ending before the already rescheduled game deadline because the original ending got leaked and scrapped. They then decided to leave the player hanging while the ending was fleshed out as future DLC. If this is the case, I hope to God the DLC is free. 3. BioWare and EA are intentionally holding the true ending back as DLC that they can charge for. It's not completely unbelievable considering the whole Day 1 DLC debacle with the Prothean, but if that is the case, it would be one of the worst examples of consumer manipulation that has ever been committed in the gaming industry. Now, there are a few things that stand against the hallucination theory that I honestly just can't explain. First of all, there's an ending where you were only presented with the destroy option. If Harbinger's intent with the end sequence is to indoctrinate you, why go through the trouble of setting up a scenario where Shepard will only pick destroy? I would argue that it's Harbinger's last laugh to get Shepard to stop fighting his wounds to stay alive, but that idea doesn't really have anything to back it up. Also, the Prothean VI on Thessia doesn't flag Shepard as indoctrinated, but does for Kai Lang. I mean, this is no surprise for Kai Lang, since we essentially know all Cerberus troops are indoctrinated as early as our discovery on Mars. I would argue that this is because Shepard is nowhere near fully indoctrinated, but again, little within the game itself can substantiate this. Additionally, the end clip with the Stargazer and the child is really vague and cryptic, and it doesn't fit into anything. The last exchange involves him saying, "Okay, one more story," which could signify that the game isn't really over, but that's a pretty big assumption to make. Let me just end this with one final thought. If this hallucination theory is right, and if this indoctrinating the player ending is what BioWare meant it to be in lieu of the real ending coming soon, then it is a masterstroke. It would single-handedly be the best ending that our entire medium has ever seen. Ever. At the same time, with as much support as I've been able to find, I still feel like I'm grasping for anything that will tell me the endings as they are just aren't true. So here's to wishful thinking, but since BioWare has been strangely silent about the whole shebang, take all of this with a grain of salt. Now, regardless if this theory is right or not, I know many of you may be looking for a way to voice your concerns. There's already several groups forming at BioWare's forums, as well as a petition charity for Child's Play that, at time of writing, has already raised over $40,000 in donations. Also, if the indoctrination theory intrigues you and you want to see more, the folks over at BioWare forums already have an incredible and extensive thread filled with evidence for the theory. They saw things that even I didn't see or mention here, so be sure to check them out. Links are in the description. See you next time.